More now on our top story. Newly released text messages between FBI officials Peter Strzok and Lisa Page are raising new questions over what role then President Obama may have played in the months leading up to the 2016 election. Page texted Strzok in September of 2016 saying, quote, POTUS wants to know everything we're doing. Now, that was around the time the FBI was about to end its investigation into Hillary Clinton and expand its Russia probe. So we don't really know what that's referring to. Ben Shapiro is editor-in-chief of DailyWire.com and the host of the Ben Shapiro Show. Great to have you with us, Ben. What's your reaction to the new texts?
I mean, it all depends on what the context is. So it seemed like the original context, people thought it had to do with the Clinton investigation. Now it seems like the opposite. It has to do with general Russian interference in the election. But until we have the context, it's hard to know whether this is something important or not. What we do know is that Strzok and Page were motivated against the president. They didn't like the president. How that manifested in their behavior is something unclear. It's pretty clear, by the way, that the FBI and the DOJ were working hand in glove with top members of the Obama administration with regard to the Hillary Clinton investigation a lot earlier than this. When it came to Loretta Lynch, for example, working with James Comey, it's hard to believe that the president of the United States would go on national television and say he didn't know anything about Hillary's private server at the same time that he was emailing her at her private email address. And obviously that was a serious problem, I think, for him and for the FBI and for the DOJ. But as far as these specific texts, they may turn out to be nothing. We just don't know yet.
All right, I want to play a little bit of what he told our Chris Wallace. This is back in April of 2016, as a lot of these things were ramping up. Here's what he said about getting involved or not getting involved with investigations.
I do not talk to the Attorney General about pending investigations. I do not talk to FBI directors about pending investigations. We have a strict line and always have maintained it, previous presidents.
Just to button this up.
I guarantee it. I guarantee that there is no political influence in any investigation conducted by the Justice Department or the FBI, not just in this case, but in any case.
So, Ben, do you take him at his word there?
No.
How do you interpret that?
I didn't take him at his word, you know, when he said it, and I didn't take him at his word before these texts came out, because there were other texts from Page and Strzok talking specifically about going easy on Hillary Clinton because she might be elected president of the United States. So this latest round of texts, again, seems to me almost irrelevant. I think it's the earlier texts that make more of a difference with regard to the Hillary investigation.
Meanwhile, we're getting new information today that relates to the FISA applications and warrants with regard to the Steele dossier, looking into Carter Page. We've gotten a lot more information now from this memo that came from Senators Grassley and Graham outlining not only what we'd heard in the House memo, but it seems to add detail to that and some texture to that as well. What do you make of those revelations? I mean, they don't seem new, but they seem to bolster the later memo that came out from the House Intel Committee.
They do add some depth of accusation and allegation to the actual Nunes memo. Well, what they essentially allege is that there were Hillary Clinton advocates, friends who were in Libya who were funneling information to the State Department after Hillary left, obviously, but there were still people she'd worked with. And the State Department was then funneling that information to Christopher Steele, who was then packaging that information and handing it over to the FBI. If that's the case, it looks like the State Department was being used as a go-between for bad information pushed forward by Hillary Clinton allies, including perhaps Sidney Blumenthal, if Trey Gowdy's implication means anything. If that's the case, then one of two things could be true. Either there could be some sort of corruption inside the FBI knew that this was bad info, they didn't check it, and they were so out to get the Trump campaign that they decided to open a FISA warrant on Carter Page out of suspicion and basically just gin something up. The other possibility is that they were actually suspicious of Trump, they were actually suspicious of Carter Page, and they decided to cut a few corners and use information they didn't know was completely good in getting the Carter Page application. If that's the case, if that's what happened, the latter thing, then we actually have a broader problem with FISA applications and FISA courts, not just with regard to this specific application. All
right. Meanwhile, and we're all hoping we get those FISA applications at some point because it would clear up a lot. And meanwhile, you don't think it would be a good idea for the president to sit down with Special Counsel Mueller as he is now moving forward with his investigation. You said this. You said no lawyer, including Joe Pesci and my cousin Vinny with the full-on clown velvet suit, which is one of my favorite visuals ever, would allow President Trump to get into a room with Robert Mueller. It would be the height of stupidity to do this. But he is chomping at the bit to do it. You know that.
Well, I mean, if the lawyers have to take him down to the basement of the White House and physically chain him up to prevent him from talking to Mueller, I would recommend that be on the table so long as they don't violate his consent in any way, because that would be illegal. But it would be such a mistake, just as a lawyer, it would be such a mistake to put somebody like President Trump, who likes to bloviate, who likes to exaggerate, who likes to say that everything is the biggest, the strongest, the best, the hugest, the most incredible, put that in front of a trained lawyer like Robert Mueller, a trained investigator like Robert Mueller, who's going to sit there trying to pick apart statements. But Bill Clinton was a very good lawyer and a very smart guy when it came to manipulating language, and he got caught in a perjury trap by a special investigator. It's not hard to see how President Trump gets caught in some sort of perjury trap or obstruction trap by the FBI.
Ben Shapiro, thank you very much. And by the way, I'm going to have to check out My Cousin Vinny again this weekend. Just some of the best courtroom scenes ever in history. Ben, thanks.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.